Right, good evening properly this time. Apologies, folks, and apologies, Sam. I started going, let Sam start talking about Fanteam, and then I realised I didn't press the go live button on YouTube, so sorry about that. We were just saying, it's very nice to have Sam back on because, well, we worked out it was 3 years ago, not to the day, but with a few months like to spare, that we did our first stream on this channel talking Fanteam. And yeah, back 3 years later to talk about it some more. How are you doing, mate, and how are you fared up for the season?
Yeah, great to be back on. And like we were just saying, it's where it all started, wasn't it? We were doing quite well, both of us that year, and there was no fan team content. We obviously had the group chat with a few of us that have remained strong, and just sort of jump on and do some musings of what we were discussing between us guys. And yeah, it's kind of gone from there. I know you've gone into the FPL world, but it's kind of the start of the golden goal journey, so to speak. Yes, mate. Looking forward to Fanteam. We were just saying, weren't we? Like, kind of usually juggling multiple formats, but it's going to be my only one this season, given that Sky have canned the game, which is really sad.
Yeah, it's a real
But
shame.
there's always a silver lining with it, and it means I can fully focus on Fanteam this year. Because I was just saying to you, wasn't I, that I kind of lost a bit of focus on Fanteam last year because my Sky team was doing really well up until the end, and so I put all my eggs in the basket. So really looking forward to just having one platform to focus on this year. And I think Fanteam, in terms of payout, you'll agree with me, Tom, it's got such there's a real, you can have a really good opportunity to make some decent cash on Fanteam versus Sky, which is paying the winner. An FPL, 10, 11 million users, and they give you a Xbox and a pat on the back, don't they? So I think it's worth the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes without saying, this game is for 18 years and older, especially in the UK, and gamble appropriately, etc. But the one thing I like about Fanteam, particularly the season-long games, is it's not just like placing a random sports bet where everything is out of your control. You've got, there's a big element of your control over fantasy football, and it's 38 weeks long, so you really do have a lot of impact on your chances of winning money. It's not, in my mind, it's not pure gambling. You have an element of control. So yeah, I absolutely love it, mate. And how many teams are you planning to enter? Have you thought about how much you're willing to put up and how many teams you're planning to enter?
Not entirely sure yet. Have bombed in a handful already. I actually haven't spent much time in it. And again, just learning from previous years, like keeping an eye on everything. And of course, the group chat's always going, which is brilliant. And Twitter's fantastic. But yeah, I'm just going to probably give it another week and see. I don't want to have so many different sides that I lose kind of a focus. I want to be able to have maybe 2 to 3 different teams and then maybe duplicate a couple of times. So that suggests that I'll be kind of probably pushing towards maybe 6 teams, something like that, but probably only managing probably just 2 different sides, Tom. If I
Yeah.
really boil it down, I don't want more than that. So it might just be 3 duplicates of each or something. What about you?
I'll probably do a couple of different teams. Exactly how many duplicates, I think we'll see how much money I'm willing to put up. But yeah, the way I'm looking to vary things, and one of the things we'll do in this stream is each build a couple of drafts just to give an idea of the kind of players we'd want to pick. And then if anyone's got some questions in the chat, etc., feel free to fire them in. But I think that one of the differentials I'm going to make is my defense. I think you can easily play the game by picking 4.5 million defenders, or 4 of them in rotate with a 4 million, something like that. You can go super cheap on defense, or maybe pick a couple of more premium defenders like Trent, maybe an Arsenal defender, something like that. And then obviously Salah and Haaland are factors as well. So maybe that's the sort of way I might differentiate between the two teams.
I've just pulled up the live chat actually, so I'll keep you notified. I'm sure you're watching it
Yeah,
as well.
cheers, mate.
I think we've all in the past we've had a few people complain to us, haven't we, when we play off the
We missed the messages, yeah.
yeah, and it's not because I'm ignorant, it's just because I'm not looking at it. But yeah, I've been defense for me at the moment. I've got to say I've not really got, and this is not through lack of research or anything. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to play that yet. I know there's a template forming between our little echo chamber with what you've just said, then, but I am, yeah, I'm eking towards a 3-4-3 at the moment. I think most people are, aren't they? But I'm actually going towards more of a flat kind of cheap 5 million under back three as it stands. Again, we'll come to this later on, but but I've seen a lot of Trent and a lot of Gvardiol and all that sort of stuff. But it's easy to say now, Tom, isn't it? Because we're like 2 weeks away from the season start. Once you're getting close and you see loads of people with a Trent in and a City defender, you just start panicking.
It's hard to resist it, isn't it?
Hard to resist, right? In he goes, because history tells us that City never start like amazingly, and they always kick on, sort of New Year onwards, don't they? Where they basically become unbeatable. But there's always that thinking, like, is this the year? It just goes really settled and they just hit the ground. You just like, so there's all those kind of conversations to be had, really, isn't there?
And history tells us, well, with the 90-minute rule, shots on target, and a bonus point for a clean sheet, that midfielders traditionally score the most points in Fanteam, don't they? With the exception of a ridiculous player like Erling Haaland, for example.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Yeah.
Have you been out rioting today, by the way? I've got Harmony in the chat has said, nice to see you got back from rioting. Okay.
Hermione. Yeah. No, well, yeah, I've been watching football.
I went to the Bristol City game today, so I've not been out rioting.
Yeah, you're in Bristol though, mate. So
has stuff been going on in Bristol, has it? And I've missed it?
No, I don't think so. No, I think it's Manchester or something today.
Okay,
although this is not a political conversation.
No.
I think there's been some stuff going on today I've seen. So anyway, we'll swiftly move on. But then there's a comment about the team. So 97% ready or something. I don't know. The AI tool.
Yeah. Just for reference, Harmony, we're going to talk about the Fanteam game in this. You might still be interested, but it's not FPL. But if you want to leave a comment on one of the FPL videos about your AI rating, etc., I'll be happy to respond in there.
If you play FPL, this is a great direct crossover, isn't it? With
Pretty
the opportunity
much.
to get some cash. So yeah.
So, mate, you said that you haven't really created many drafts or had too much of a go on Fanteam yet. Do you fancy changing that? And on the fly, we can do a draft together if you like, or I'll let you go.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah. You feel free to join me, mate. You've got of course, I've got a rough template, and you can help me maybe fill some dots. You've got it pulled up. So goalkeeper, leave the goalie for now,
Okay.
Because I'm a little bit unsure where I'm going. I was thinking about a bit of Palace goalkeeper action, but I'd heard some uncertainty around kind of who's number one. So I don't know whether we just wait and see. I mean, don't know. What do you have any info or thoughts on that?
No info or thoughts. I do think one will emerge as the first choice, and I do think the first choice Palace keeper is going to be the best goalkeeper probably in the game. But there's no intel to suggest who it's going to be. And I think Henderson and Johnston are of very similar abilities.
I do. I'm coming off the live chat now, Tom. I'm going to pull the app up. So if anyone has,
I'll keep track of it. Don't worry.
You can keep track of it. So let's go straight in with, and again, this is based off pre-season stuff. Mr. Hall from Newcastle.
Yeah, okay.
He looks like he's starting, doesn't it? At the moment,
it's certainly looking that way.
4.5 mil.
He's in. Lewis Hall.
And then, of course,
Southampton first up as well, haven't they? Which is a good fixture.
Yes, and I think, again, this is why I don't get to like, this is my 11, this is my 15 on the bench, because stuff changes and something could happen, an injury to someone 2 days before the kickoff, and you're suddenly ripping your team up and kind of redoing it completely. But I think there's an opportunity there for maybe see what happens with Gahey. If he moves across and looks like he's going to start, that could be a nice double up there, couldn't it? With the Newcastle, don't put it in yet, but that's like
He'll be a great signing for whoever he goes to, won't he? He really showed his worth in the Euros. I thought he was brilliant.
I saw some Newcastle intel, though, earlier on Twitter that they were looking for a right centre-back, and he's a left-sided centre-back. Yeah. So that was like a trusted journo account. So, and I read all the comments. I've basically fallen into the Newcastle Twitter because I was looking at so much Lewis Hall information. I started getting all the Newcastle fan info coming to my feed. So it's been really quite interesting. They also, like many fan bases, Tom, moan quite a lot, just like the Liverpool fan base. Yeah. But yeah, they were kind of like, where's he going to fit in kind of like within the team? So I guess it's one to keep an eye on. Anyway, I'll move on. Palace, mate. And you know where I'm going to go with that, don't you?
Yeah, it's got to be Munoz, hasn't it?
Yeah.
He's a cheat code, isn't he, at 4.5?
He is. He is. You're absolutely right. And then that third defender, maybe we just leave for now.
Okay.
I've got some thoughts on maybe Arsenal. I think they're going to continue to be solid. Where we go though, Tom, is obviously a outside of Saliba, and maybe Ben White. Timber, does he start? The new lad, Calafiori, or whatever he's called. Gabriel was a real asset when he was starting last year. Zinchenko, he was in and out. So, yeah, that's kind of one to watch for me. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on the Arsenal defence.
Yeah, I think in terms of picking a player for one game and expecting the most points, that's Gabriel for me. I think Ben White is middle ground between total points and expected minutes. And Saliba probably offers the least attacking threat of the three, but I think he plays all 38 games.
Yeah.
That would be my thoughts on the three.
FPL Caesar, in our chat, he thinks that Gabriel's not nailed.
Yeah, I would agree.
But he was in my draft, but based off that, I'm kind of like, obviously he's an Arsenal fan. He's looking at it, so I've just left him out for now.
I don't agree with it, but Arteta mucked about with that Arsenal defence at the start of the season, didn't he, last year? He played, I think, Partey at centre-back instead of Gabriel to try and get them passing the ball a bit differently, and it didn't work. And as soon as they played that solid, well, at least three of Gabriel, Saliba and White, they really kicked on. But I think that showed, just by leaving him out for that period of time, I think it showed that Gabriel's not necessarily Arteta's favourite centre-back.
And the new lad, the Italian lad that's come in, is exceptionally good on the ball.
Right.
And so he's tried, again, I've seen all the write-ups on him and the video montage of him prior to him signing. So
he looks like a midfielder, doesn't he, to be honest?
Yeah, he can carry the ball, he can escape pressure. He's got some good, the vertical pass is good.
Yeah.
Either side on either foot is good. We know how Arteta likes to play. It's that Pep 2.0, isn't it? So I feel like he's going to come in. Whether or not that's at the start or not is a different matter. And again, he's 5'5", Tom. So if he comes in at 5'5", he's got a good physical presence. I could see him chipping in with like a Gvardiol, like assists and kind of would play action. So I think he's definitely one that if he was nailed game week 1, he'd be in my team for sure. But just nature of him being brand new and Timber back is just a question mark on that one for now.
Agreed. What about your midfield, mate? Any names?
So Mo Salah.
Yeah, got to be on it. We'll stick him.
I'm going to build. You can put Haaland in as well. And know there's some doubt about Haaland right now with photos emerging of him in I'm sure I've seen some old photos as well, chucked in. But he's got some niggles, isn't he?
Yeah, he does. I think Pep, for all the roulette that he does, he's pretty honest about his players in press conferences as to their physical condition. And I also think he got the Community Shield beforehand. If Haaland, don't think he needs to start the Community Shield to convince me. I think he just needs to get minutes. If he gets minutes in the Community Shield, I think he starts game week 1. That would be my thoughts.
Yeah, we were just chatting off air, weren't we, and saying what our thoughts were on Haaland. And I totally agree. I think it's pretty much just wait for more information. But maybe if you're inclined to go with him, build the team around him because of the expense that he carries.
Yeah, I would want to, if I didn't have him, I would want to have a team where I could get to him in 2 moves.
Yeah.
Because I think at one point he could break the game. Game week 2, if he's back for game week 2, he's got Ipswich at home. That's one of the best fixtures you can possibly ask for. And you'll want him captain on that week, I think.
Totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. My other kind of lock at the moment is Eze.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
I know he's injury prone, but he's definitely I think he's going to be super value. They were playing really nice football towards the back end of the season, weren't they?
They were good. They've
still got that core contingent there, haven't they, at the moment, of players: Wharton, Gahey, Eze, of course. Elise has gone, but do you think that'll affect his output?
I think it makes it better, mate. I think it means that he's the number 1 free kick and penalty taker now. So I think it only serves to make him better, to be honest.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And they've signed, I don't know how good he'll be in Fanteam, but they signed Ismail Assar as well. So I think, obviously, he's not as good as Elise, but I think, he'll still have a good teammate in Ismail Assar, I think. So I wouldn't worry too much about the quality of players around him.
So going off Ismail Assar, if you remember him from the classic Sky seasons, Tom, you remember he was a 2-2-2-2 double digit haul 2-2-2-2 kind of.
He scored a hat-trick against Liverpool, didn't he? Something like that.
Yeah, we didn't have a good day that day. I remember it quite well. So it's, that's what you're probably going to get with him. And again, it's an absolute watch and wait, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a few other names on that midfield, but there's no immediate locks in that midfield. I think I'd like to lock in my kind of front three with Alexander Isak and Muniz from Fulham.
Okay.
That's the three I've kind of got up there.
What's Muniz
in this game?
Let's have a look.
6'5", isn't he?
6'5". Get him a head around the two prices is a bit tough. Yeah, 6'5" is a good price for him.
Yeah, good price for him. Good end of the season. Again, Fulham, they've signed ESR, haven't they?
They'll score goals, hopefully. I would agree.
So, I was trying to play around with kind of that slightly more expensive striker in with Salah and Haaland, and
it's hard work, isn't it?
It just didn't work. And then, we're kind of forget the bench fodder at the moment. I've got a few names now to chuck in that I'm not entirely convinced on, but I'm waiting for that more information to build the rest from there. And I tell you one, there's two players for another one of those midfield slots that might well start game week 1 for me, and that's either Heung-min Son for Spurs, who would be a really nice placeholder as well to wait for when a Foden or a Saka or a Palmer, you want to move on to them and they're firing. Or it's Brennan Johnson.
Yeah.
At 7 mil. Again, I'm now starting to throw names rather than build the actual draft itself, because that's as far as I've really got with kind of nailed players as such. But
I do really like Son, mate. He ticks all the boxes of a good fan team player, doesn't he?
Yeah, whack him in. I don't know what our money will look like.
He's in. He's in at the moment.
So where do we need to go from here? We've got that.
So we need to pick our goalkeepers, 3 defenders, and 2 midfielders. So
my thinking is for the goalkeeper that I'd want to go with that Palace first choice goalkeeper. So stick in one of them and we just say that's the placeholder. So they're both 4-5, aren't they?
Yeah, both 4-5. I'll go for Henderson. But I think we'll know before the start of the season who's going to start for him. You got any 4 million keepers you like the look of? I remember chatting through them with Ben and we found a potential couple. So Sells has played in pre-season for Nottingham Forest so far, but their new signing Miguel is 4 million.
Yeah.
Alex McCarthy, the backup Southampton goalkeeper, their first choice is a guy called Bazunu. He's got an injury at the moment, so McCarthy could well start the season for Southampton. And then also, it's Fanteam's prediction rather than mine, but they've got Travers starting at the moment for Bournemouth over who's there? Neto is their first choice keeper, isn't he?
Yeah, he was it doubt. He was. Do you remember last season?
Yeah, he's under pressure, wasn't he?
He was under pressure. So, like for me, that's like a crowbarred you, but that's a definite kind of weight, mate, for sure, wasn't it? With him.
I'll go Alex McCarthy just because I think he's definitely going to play.
Again, I think by the end of the season, by the start of the season, a £4 million goalkeeper backup will emerge.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry. Someone's asking if they're doing a team without Salah and Haaland is crazy. I think it's okay now. Then you get close to the season, then you go a bit of squeaky bum time, because Salah is prolific opening. He's so good opening day of the season. I know last season it was only assist. He did have a goal ruled out as well in that Chelsea fixture, but he's often double-digit haul day one. He's fit, he's fresh, he's fight. I won't be going without Salah day one as long as he's fit, and largely the same applies to Haaland. Just the conversation we had, Tom. If he's niggles, then obviously build without him.
See, we got Ben in the chat. Good to see you, Ben. He says, "Say hi to Sam too. Hope he's well."
Hello, Ben. Someone's asked about 4 million defenders actually, so I'm gonna be shameless and steal FPL Shenanigans list from earlier
All right.
because I think he created a list. So it's a big shout out. I think it was his. If it's not, apologies. But you've kind of got Max Aarons, haven't you, at Bournemouth?
Yeah.
You've got Henry at Brentford.
Yeah.
Hickey at Brentford.
Yeah.
Seamus Coleman, Everton.
Yeah.
Stevens, Southampton. Doherty at Wolves and Mosquera at Wolves. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. So there's a couple of 4 mils that someone's identified in our chat that are worth keeping an eye on. I had a couple of those on the bench anyway, Tom. I don't know about you.
Was it Shenanigans or was it Ben?
It might have been Ben. Is Ben in the chat now?
He is, yeah. He said it was mine.
So it was Ben. Apologies.
That was not me, Ben. Just for the record, I would never do that to you.
He's seen it in plain light, isn't he? He's seen me chatting.
I would never do that to you, Ben.
It was Ben's fours, which I think are really, really good recommendations. And I think I had Henry and Aarons on the bench.
Like it. All right, I'll go Aarons then. I think you got to go Henry, haven't you? He's just a banker, and then it's the other
100%.
one.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll go Aarons as well. So we got one more defender to go and 2 midfielders, and we have 17 million, which doesn't sound too bad.
Do we need another starting defender?
Depends. So we can start 2. So we got Hall, Munoz, Henry, and Aarons at the moment.
So for me, again, can we afford something slightly more premium there, Tom? Do you think?
We'll give it a go. How premium are we talking? Sort of 5.5, 6 million?
5.5.
5.5.
Yeah. What have we got in that range? Have we got what's Guardiola?
Guardiola is 6. Yeah. So at 5.5, you got Shaw, Byrne, Gusto, Porro.
Yeah. Oh, I got burnt on Porro last season. And Ben's saying in Everton and that I just don't trust Everton. Like personally, I think they'd be good on rotation, but again, sorry Ben, but previous years I just keep getting burnt. I always go into Pickford at some point, and it's like concede. But it's Tarkovsky 4.5.
He is.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look.
Oh, Ben's saying we need to start one. So maybe we chuck Tarkovsky in just for the purpose of the chat.
Do you want Tarkovsky or Mikalenko? I prefer Mikalenko myself.
Yeah. You go for it, and then we'll see what money we've got left.
Let's do Mikalenko. Right,
Ben's
so
fault.
2 midfielders, 12.5 million.
Cool. Any ideas?
Let's have a look, see. I'll set the budget at
half or whatever. Or one slightly higher, one and then one filler.
Yeah.
It's up to you. Set it how you want.
Let's go for a 7. So you said Brennan Johnson. I quite like him. Leicester first up. Looks to have nailed down that right-hand side position. Nkunku. Leon Bailey. Gibbs White at 6.5. He could be quite decent, Gibbs White, for those first few fixtures.
Yeah, he could. No, just looking at Ben now. Ben saying, no, that's why I'm thinking a slightly more premium defender, Ben. Like a Arsenal defender, but we can come back to that in a minute for sure. Let's get that midfield kind of squared away, I reckon.
So I reckon if it were me picking a 7 million mid in this game, I would go Brian Mbeumo, Brennan Johnson, Leon Bailey, or Nkunku.
So in Nkunku, forgot to mention him. For me, he's a watch and wait. Like we know he's a little bit injury prone. So I think at the moment that rules him out for me. My thinking would probably be Brennan Johnson from the off there. But then you're doubling up on Spurs, and we all know about Spurs, don't we? Like sort of very, very Spursy. So
how about Gibbs White, mate?
Put him in, mate. This is a joint effort, right?
Ben's getting told off for spamming the chat. He's not spamming. He's fine. We have 6 million left now. Now we stuck Gibbs White in.
Is that for one more mid?
Yeah.
So I reckon, Tom, do we take out Mikalenko at 4.5 and try and 6? Do we try and upgrade a defender to a starter? So we go 5.5.
Yeah. So we got 4 mids at the moment. So if I bench Aarons a sec, bench Henry,
and then upgrade Mikalenko.
I'll just stick a 4.5 million mid in as well, because I think that's necessary, isn't it? Harry Winks. We'll just stick Harry Winks in. He'll be the ever
My
popular.
actual bench man for 4-5 was Onana from Villa.
Okay, let's go for him. He's as good as any, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a good player, mate.
He is. I think Villa looking smart this season.
Yeah, made some good. He's he'll kick on from there, I think.
Tell you what, mate, you got 6 million for a defender here.
Gibbs, White, or Wood? Wood for me. Sorry, I was just answering the chat. Yeah. So we got. Okay. So Guardiola, then get him in for now. Although I was, like I said, I would be tempted to go with the new lad Calafiori or whatever he's called. Yeah. But given that we don't know if he's going to start, go with Guardiola. He was brilliant towards the end of the season. I know that you jumped on him and made some gains, didn't you?
I tell you what, mate, this is a really tidy team. So Dean Henderson in goal, Lewis Hall, Munoz, Guardiola. Noting that there are plenty of 4.5 million defenders, right? So if Hall don't get a good feeling he starts or whatever, doesn't matter. Pick someone else. Guardiola, Salah, Eze, Son, Gibbs White, Haaland, Isak, Muniz, McCarthy, Henry, Aarons, Onana. I think that's solid, that.
Yeah, and I do, mate. I actually really like that. So save that one, Tom, because then I'll stick that. I'll actually update my drafts later on. That leads to a good point from someone in the chat about the players that have gone deep in the Euros, like Saka or Palmer, and that was my thinking with Son. Son's looked good in pre-season. He's obviously a brilliant footballer. Anyway, we know that historically he has real purple patches through the season, like 2 or 3 seasons ago, him and Kane when they started. And that allows you to kind of feel out your Fodens, your Palmers, your Sakas, how they come back and reintegrate into the team. Once they're firing, a change of fixtures, you can just do a simple swap within 1 to 2 moves. So that's why I like that. Kind of avoiding those guys for now, but having a placeholder in there. Would you be put off Son if Tony or Solanke came in? No, I think for me, Son's nailed. I know what he's probably getting at, like in terms of output, but I think it wouldn't put me off. I don't know about you, Tom.
Even when Kane, well, we all know how Son and Kane linked up. Obviously, Kane is a different player than Tony and Solanke. But Son was a prolific goal scorer even with Kane in the team. Even with Kane taking penalties, he was really good. So, yeah. I don't think they'll link up quite as well. I guess the main thing with Son and Kane was the link up, right? Kane being such a good passer, but I still think Son is good. And even then, you could start with Son, and if he doesn't perform, you just go to someone like Bruno Fernandes or Odegaard, I think. In this game, we got Bruno Fernandes at 8.5, which is, I think, unbelievable price. And then Odegaard at 8 million, I think, is a bit of a steal if he has a good season.
I had Bruno in quite a few of my drafts, and I probably will have him in one of my teams. I think you're absolutely right. But again, talking to you're a United fan, aren't you? Are you concerned about? It's not the quality of Bruno Fernandes particularly; it's the quality of the player around him, and his chance creation really quite good last year.
Best in the league, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
but lack of end product that affected it, and ultimately, that when you're spending that sort of money, you want that output around the players. But I think he could be tremendous value, and he's your best player in Neil, one of your best players.
I also, you can't.
Yeah, sorry, Tom.
I cannot justify picking him at the start of the season, so don't for 1 second think I'm saying pick him. But I do think Rashford's going to have a good season. I think he's going to improve on where he was last year. I think he'll be back. And 7.5 million, if he scores 15 to 20 goals, does what we know Rashford can do, I think he can be really good as well.
And then that immediately makes Bruno an option, right?
Exactly.
Because where a majority of that's going to be coming from. There was a question around Ollie Watkins, which I presume you've probably got some thoughts on.
I haven't picked him in a single draft in Fanteam yet, purely because you've got Isak there at that price.
Is Isak slightly cheaper?
Yeah. I think Watkins is 9.5 in this game.
Yeah. I know what you're thinking this time. You think he had a bit of a purple season, don't you?
I don't think so in terms of goals. I think he could replicate the season in terms of goals, but he got 18 assists last year. And I don't think Watkins is going to get 18 assists this year. The one thing that could go in his favour is penalties. He's not a very good penalty taker, which is why Douglas Luiz took him off him. But given that Douglas Luiz is gone now, I think the Villa pens is between John McGinn and Ollie Watkins. And if Watkins takes the pens for Villa, I think 9.5 is a really good price and he's absolutely fine. But if he's not the penalty taker, I just don't think he's going to replicate that level of returns assists again. And also, in terms of time on the pitch to goals, Isak was levels above Watkins because Isak played, I think Watkins played 36, 37 games. Isak played 28, 29 games, and Isak scored more goals than Watkins did. So he played almost 10 less games and scored more goals, and he's on penalties. So, yeah, I prefer Isak.
Yeah, and that's
probably a bit more injury prone, though, I guess. That's the only thing that comes with Isak.
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. Ben's going back on Bruno, saying, how well Bruno did last year, given the output from the players around him. It can't get any worse, can it? Well, Ben, this is Manchester United. You're the new Manchester United you're talking about, with a big smile on my face. So it probably can get worse. Am I right?
Well, it's already started off bad. Our new centre-back signing, Lenny Yoro, came in 60 million quid. Got a hairline fracture on his foot straight away. Hoyland's injured. Rashford's injured. It's not looking great. So, I mentioned that Rashford could be a good option. He's currently injured. Are you liking any of the Liverpool midfielders? Because I see we got Darwin Núñez in here at 8 million, Cody Gakpo at 7, Jota's hovering around as well. Do you think any of them will be safe starters, or are they all going to be in and out rotated?
There was a question about Liverpool, some lads saying Trent or Gvardiol, because I've got no Liverpool, but this might be the in for Liverpool. It looks like Dominic Szoboszlai might play a bit more of a creative output-based role this season. Again, there's not much to go on. I was just saying to Tom before we came on air that Slot basically said the teams and formations he'd been selecting in pre-season were based off the fact that we had no striker there, so no Cody Gakpo and no Darwin Núñez given international duty. So he's kind of playing like Harvey Elliott and various other players in a false nine. But the talk is that Szoboszlai will play a more of a forward kind of attacking role within that team this year. So he could definitely be one to watch. If you look at his numbers, where was he before? Was it Leipzig? Was it? I can't remember.
It was one of the Red Bull teams, I'm pretty sure, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Super striker of the ball, creative, eye for goal. So he's one to watch. I think Jota is a funny one because I think if Jota's nailed in the team, he is an absolute one of the first names on your team sheet, and he proves that time and time again, but quite injury prone. I just think there's some uncertainty around kind of who's going to play where for Liverpool. I think Salah's probably the only one in that front line that's actually nailed.
Yeah.
Jota actually came out and said that Slot had said something about Jota now playing like a false nine. So does then that put question marks over Darwin Núñez? Does that mean them two will rotate? Does that mean Gakpo goes out on the left? Obviously, you've still got Luis Diaz out there. There's also talk of Liverpool signing a wide forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'd probably answer your question fairly well there, Tom. It's a very much a watch and wait. Dominic Szoboszlai potentially being the only one, but then his ceiling probably isn't what Jota's is, what Gakpo's is, or what even Diaz's is. So as been an avid Liverpool fan, I'm watching and waiting on that one, and it's just Salah for me for now from a attacking perspective.
I'll tell you what, I've just changed the screen, but what I'll do, I can pick a draft now if you like, with some input from yourself, and I'll try and make it a little bit different to yours, maybe without Haaland in it, and then I'll go a bit different to give people a couple of ideas. How about that?
Yeah, no worries, mate. Let's do it.
So
I think Szoboszlai will play some form of attacking role in central midfield, but we'll see. Klopp had him as a workhorse last year, and I think it nullified his attacking output because he replaced what Henderson kind of did from a pressing, running perspective. But I think he'll be used slightly differently. I think he could be a really good shout. So keep an eye.
All right, goalkeeper wise, I'm going to copy you though. I think the starting Crystal Palace keeper is the way to go for me. So I'm not going to argue with you on that. I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to pick Eze because I think Eze is going to be amazing in this game. So I'm going to pick both of them. And I'm going to pick Isak as well. because those are and probably Salah, because those are the stalwarts. I think you just have to pick them, really.
Sometimes there's just you can just try and be too differential for no reason when you just know you're leaving out players that are just tried and tested and are going to formulate the basis of 4 or 5 of your template.
Right, so Henderson, Salah, Eze, Isak are in. Let's have a look at the defence. I'm going to pick Trent. And I go bold and pick Trent. I think 6.5 million will be a good price for him. I think he'll prove to be that price. Oh, and Munoz as well. Have to pick Munoz, really, don't you?
We haven't seen... I don't know, last season, Trent wasn't... Liverpool didn't keep a lot of clean sheets for a period of time, did they? That was the problem.
And his attacking stats, actually, it's a good point you raised that, actually. I did a comparison between him and Robertson for an FPL video. In Trent's attacking stats, like expected returns per 90 minutes kind of stats, were lower than Robertson's, if you can believe that.
Yeah, Robertson, for me, has declined. Like, he wasn't the Robertson of 18-19s. But Trent was definitely utilised differently a lot more last season. Not like continually, but there was definitely like periods where he went into that inverted centre midi kind of role. And I don't know what he'll do, but I'm not sure, Ben. I think right back. But there's been a lot of mutterings from the Liverpool kind of fans in pre-season that Bradley looks... We all know Bradley's a good player, but people are thinking he could potentially be the kind of right back, and then it's a change of system. But I don't know. I really don't know. I just know that Trent will be nailed somewhere. But like I was saying to Tom, I don't think his returns last year were quite as explosive as what people kind of expect from someone of that quality.
I was just having a look at a couple 4 million defenders to stick in as well. I said there are so many players that are actually locked in for me at the moment, just with the way they're priced. I think Rico Henry's another one that you kind of just have to pick at his price.
Yeah, I think you do. Yep.
Who else we got off 4 million? Can't really go different either. Connor Townsend's just signed for Ipswich, so he could well be first choice. I like Aaron's as well, to be fair. Same way that you picked.
The difference is really are only going to be 2 or 3 players realistic, and 2 or 3 of those kind of more ones that you can flip between anyway.
All right, we'll stick Aaron's in as well then, if I can find him. Actually, yeah, I'll go Aaron's.
Do you have any thoughts on Chris Wood up top?
Yeah,
lots of people excited for him.
I made a video about my new FPL draft, and I've got Chris Wood in it. Because my plan is, in FPL at least, to have him for the first 3 or 4 game weeks. And then by that time, I think he'll start sharing minutes with Awoniyi. But for the first, based on how he played last season, I think he's going to be first choice, which means 2 or 3 games he starts, and that's all you need him for, in my mind. And then I can just sack him off for someone like João Pedro. That would be my plan.
João Pedro's a good shout. And what's the Brighton midfield lad that they signed from Newcastle? He's been an absolute beast in pre-season, mate. He's almost worth putting into that draft. He scored again today. Minte,
yeah. Has he?
He scored again today. I think he scored 3 or 4 goals in pre-season.
Right. Let's have a quick look.
It's definitely Shenanigans that's been pestering the chat about him, but he's looked really, really good. If anyone wants an outside shout there, they've just got really difficult fixtures, haven't they?
He's 5 million in Fanteam.
Mate, that is I know it's a kind of awkward price in some essences, but he could break the game with that if he starts and he's kind of replicating that form. I think he's a total game breaker.
Let's have a laugh and put him in. I'm going to put him in.
All 2 million cheaper than Nkuku, who we're all raving about. It's £7 million.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to check Minte's stats, like in this pre-season, been really good playing out on the right. He looks like real decent wide forward. And I think he'll be, I think he's going to be nailed. But Tom, what's their opening fixtures? Pretty tough, aren't they?
Yeah, right. So Everton away first up.
Which is okay.
Let me see if I can get a synopsis of him. Bear with. If I click on him, I get info. There we go.
Munoz, I think someone's asking about Munoz. I'll quickly address it. I think he should be nailed for most teams, given he's 4.5 in a attacking player in a fairly solid team. And wouldn't you agree with that, Tom?
Yeah.
Munoz, Palace.
I think you've got to go for him. Like I said, there are For me, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players that are absolutely locked in for me. Dean Henderson, Munoz, Salah, Eze, Rico Henry, and Isak. Those are my just absolute bankers in this game. I don't think you can not pick them. Maybe Eze, just with his injury record. I think you could justify not picking Eze, but the rest of them, I think you've got to go for.
But he's at that price where there's Nkuku, there's Brennan Johnson, there's Kulusevski in and around that.
And you can go cheaper as well, can't you?
Exactly. So there's plenty of options to shift him to there. Ben's banging on about DCL, saying his underlying stats are, is really, really good. 0.5 million cheaper than Wood, and big underperformer of his XG. He just needs to find. For him, it's just minutes, isn't it? He needs a real run of playing games. Like, I wouldn't begrudge anyone to start DCL. Like, we've all seen his quality. It's just, can he stay fit for 10 games in a row? And if he can, he's going to score goals.
I really feel sorry for him because I think it's very easy to get stick as a striker for not scoring goals. But yeah, people just don't realise how hard it is to play under loads of injury, not being fresh, always having niggles, etc. It's impossible, isn't it?
I think rhythm for any player is, no matter what level, is really important, let alone at the highest level. So if someone wanted an outside punt, I think that's a fantastic one, because if he's in really good shape at the moment, he could hit the ground running, and you're onto an early winner with price rises and points and all that sort of stuff.
All right, with no Haaland in this team, I'm going to pick Watkins.
Cool.
And I know the fixtures, well, provided he doesn't sign for Tottenham. And I know the opening fixtures for Bournemouth are not amazing, but I'm going to pick Solanke.
Cool. And what's your reasoning behind both of them?
Well, Solanke, Watkins, obviously, with the numbers he put up last season, I think he is worth 9.5 million, but I can't justify picking him usually because I've got Haaland in there. But without him, I think you can. And he ticks, apart from the penalties box, he ticks all the other boxes in Fanteam. Gets loads of shots off for the 0.5 or 0.4, however many you get for shots on target for a forward. And he plays 90 minutes, doesn't he?
I think if Watkins gets anywhere near what he did last year, he'll be in everyone's team by game week, whatever. Isaac will get injured, and then people will make a two transfer move to get Watkins in. So, yeah, that's very, 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 very possible and plausible route, isn't it? Like you said, Isaac is a fantastically explosive player, but he is prone to a muscle injury.
And I got for Solanke because plays 90 minutes every game, takes penalties, scored 19 Premier League goals last year. Seems like he's quietly must have been doing some serious work in the background to improve his game. Because I remember when he played for Liverpool, he was pretty woeful, but he really has transformed his game, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's a solid kind of Premier League lower level, let's say lower level, but like that Bournemouth level. I think he could potentially step up. It didn't quite work for him at Liverpool, but he didn't get huge opportunities. Are there better centre forwards in the Premier League? Absolutely, but yeah, he had a good season last year, and he serves a purpose, doesn't he?
Agreed. And then alongside that, I'm going to go Son as well. And then,
yeah, I think you're right, Ben. I think Ben's saying if Watkins is on pens, then it's going to be
it's a game changer, isn't it?
Obviously, if he scores them, though, that's the big one. Like I imagine he's been working on his penalty taking over the last few weeks or whatever in between the Euros and the new season.
I'm going to go Bruno Fernandes as well. So I'm going to bench Minter. It can be like a nice little bench option, I think.
Yeah, and come in when the Brighton fixtures shape up a little.
And then I'm going to start Bruno Fernandes, which leaves me with 9 million for a defender and a backup keeper. So again, I'm going to have to copy what you did and go for McCarthy. I think he's the 4 million keeper with the most chance of starting. So I'm going to have to pick him. So
who's the right? Yeah, have a look.
What I also don't hate, particularly with the way the saves points work in this game. So you get 0.5 points per save that a goalkeeper makes, and there's no upper limit to it. Flecken is a goalkeeper that will make 4 or 5 saves every game and keep a relatively average amount of clean sheets. And the Brentford backup keeper is 4 million. So if he doesn't play, you get the backup keeper who's 4 million. So if you pick the 2 Brentford keepers, you're guaranteed to get the starter every week. That's just the way to think about it.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I think we all know in Fanteam that's what you're chasing, aren't you? Goalkeepers that make saves.
And I got 5 million for my final defender. So see what we can get for 5 million, shall we?
It might be. You might end up dropping down to that 4-5 mark.
I am looking, mate, and I'm not seeing a 5 million defender that fills me.
No, I didn't think you would. I didn't think you would. I don't even think there's much in the 5-5 bracket. I'll go to Ben's list. Ben's 4.5 list. That he did. It's a really good 4-5 list as well. So Carlos at Villa, I think that's a good shout. Kirkes at Bournemouth. I know you've already got Max Aarons in there. So it's like, do you want both? Tarkovsky, Mikalenko, Castagna at Fulham, Robertson at Fulham, Hall obviously at Newcastle, but I went with him, so I know you're trying to build a slightly different side. Ain't Nuri.
Yeah. Start of the season's really tough for Wolves, but come like 4 or 5 games in, Ain't Nuri's going to be good because he played on the left wing last season.
You've got Mitchell, mate, Palace, 4.5.
I'm already tripled on Palace, to be fair.
Yeah.
I want to go. I might go Anthony Robinson, actually.
Yeah, nice.
Because first fixture's rough, Man United away, but you can start someone else. And then Leicester and Ipswich 2 and 3. I'm going to go Robinson and put him on the bench.
Cool.
So yeah, there's my team.
Ben's actually just mentioned the Flecken rotation with McCarthy.
Interesting.
Rotations for me haven't worked very well in the past. I don't know about you, Tom. Like, I'm actually just I don't mind that because McCarthy's cheap. I don't think I'll just stick with a 4-5 goalkeeper and just let them rot basically. And if they're crap, then I'll just take them out and switch them for someone who's looking slightly better. That's what I've historically done. I love it. I love at the start of the FPL preseason. You see all these rotation kind of things, and you're like, "Yeah, it looks great." I don't remember a year where it's paid off for me. I'm sure it's paid off for someone. They're my bench players. They're going to play, and then other stuff's going to come up, isn't it? As you go, the fires are going to come up, and that's where your moves are going to go.
Yeah. So we got Dean Henderson, Trent, Rico Henry, Munoz, Salah, Eze, Son, Bruno Fernandes, Isak, Watkins, Solanke, McCarthy, Minter, Aarons, and Robinson on the bench. And let's see if we got any 8 million. So if we took a punt, so I could drop Minter to a 4.5 million midfielder and get Darwin Núñez up front if we get good news that he's going to start. I think that could be a way to go. But for now, I think you have to go Solanke because not sure Darwin's going to start.
1 year and 1 time, Darwin is definitely going to fire.
He is.
We're just waiting for it. I brought him in last year. I thought he was going to just connect cow's ass with a banjo again. But all of his underlying stats, his movement, his runs, his work is fantastic. It's just his big chance finishing, isn't it? That's his problem, and that's what scores your points. Didn't he hit the woodwork 4 times against Newcastle in that
crazy game? Yeah, crazy numbers, yeah.
And a missed penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's jumped in the chat and said I'd keep 0.5 million in the bank, and I think if you can do that, I think that's a good shout. It just helps you with pivoting, doesn't it? Inevitable pivoting in the first couple of weeks. Ben Hall's one of my favourites at the moment. I like him as a player. As I said, I've watched a bit of his stuff come up in the Twitter montages of like play. Someone puts it all together wonderfully, don't they? And I think Chelsea made an error in losing him there, and I think if he's nailed, he's going to be a template pick, definitely.
Yeah, those are 2. Hopefully, folks, that's 2 drafts there that will really help you out. I think if you pick either of these teams, one with Haaland, one without, they'll do you absolutely fine. Any thoughts on anything else you want to say on my draft at all?
I just think for both of them, it's like it looks great now, but we've still got 2 weeks, and obviously you don't want to burst people's bubbles. But we all know we're all experienced enough in the fantasy football world that a lot of shit's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. Preseason games, injuries, signings, emergencies of players that look like they're going to start, and so we've just got to have our ears to the ground for all of that information. And I make a little thing, Tom, at the start of each year that I'm going to start really trusted in terms of players. So yes, of course, you've got to have the odd risk. It's just that's what you need to get a good team out there. But I like to start with players that have proven their FPL or Fanteam worth in the past as the basis of my team, and that's the way I'll be going for sure as time moves on.
Yeah, one of the skills, and it certainly worked in the Sky game. I remember that. But one of the skills I find is to start steady. Don't lose ground, because you can lose the game at the start of the season, but you can't win it.
You can't win it.
And then I would say one of the skills I really appreciate in fantasy football is the ability to sit on your hands for 2 or 3 game weeks and then identify the players that are going to do well that not many people have based on the performance in the first 2 and 3 games, and then get them in. I think that's one of the secrets.
You did that last year, didn't you, in Sky or Fanteam? I can't remember which one, where you sat on your side.
Yeah.
And you massively jumped up, didn't you? Because those players you picked.
I just did nothing with my team for a couple of months. Did nothing. Just sat on all the transfers. I lost a bit of ground, but honestly, not all that much. And I think, certainly in Fanteam last season, I didn't really play that way in Fanteam. I did in Sky. But in Fanteam, there were weeks where I made transfers, sometimes took a hit, and my team the week before would have scored more points than the new team with transfers and stuff. That's sometimes how it works. Particularly in Fanteam with all the bonuses as well.
Patience is one of the biggest, really important factors in being good at fantasy, isn't it? And especially with Twitter, because Twitter is overthink.com.
Yeah. With
all the content creators out there that are trying to, create stuff for basically no reason. Not you, Tom. I wouldn't. Yeah, not you. You're just good quality information,
I'll just
mate.
mess it about, mate.
Like rotations and overthinking. It's very, very simple. Get the best players into your side, and you're going to do well. And patience is one of the key skills in fantasy. We've all been there. We've all whipped out Son because he hasn't done well for 3 weeks, and then boom, 2 goals and assist, and you're kicking yourself.
So, John, just saw your message in the chat. You might be interested in this. I know you're a regular watcher of the channel. So, Fanteam is different. This is a different fantasy football game to FPL. So Fanteam works very similarly. You can, in fact, I did a live Q&A with Ben, who's been very active in this chat this week, where I go through the rules, etc. Might be worth watching. But this game is a £10 buy-in with a potential to win not £200,000, but there's a total prize pool of this game of £200,000. It's 18 plus, betting game basically. But it's fantasy football for money, basically. That's what Fanteam is.
Does that explain the price thing that John's asked about?
Yeah, he's saying why he's
so FPL is 7 mil.
Yeah.
I think it's if you're playing FPL, John, and you want an actual opportunity to win something, then this is
your one, definitely.
I didn't play FPL at all last season, and I can tell you what, I am delighted, and I'm not playing again this season. This is where my focus is going this year. Ben saying, what the chances of you going Haaland, as that really sets the structure for the rest of the team, obviously, hypothetically speaking, with that draft. Haaland starts firing, Tom. You've got an issue there, haven't you, with that side?
Yeah. That's like I said, this is being different to you. My team will probably be almost player for player the same as yours, to be honest.
What we created earlier, the first one. But if you have got multiple teams, then you've got the ability to do that, and the swings can go the other way, and that's when you we're not pushing you on that. John's just an explanation.
Just explaining it. Yeah, I'm very conscious of, yes, I'm showing this game and sort of promoting it, but I'm not forcing anyone to play it or gamble their money away. That's definitely not what I'm trying to do. All personal choice. One thing they are doing in this game, and it might be worth doing a draft together just with the final sort of 10, 20 minutes we got on this stream, if you've got time. There's a free roll game with no prices. Yeah. Do you want to have a go at that?
Yeah, that was quite interesting. And you can guarantee, Tom, come the end of the season, that it won't be that winning team will be way under the not way under the budget, but way under the normal game budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you always see team of the season in various games, don't you? And you can put that together for perhaps.
Well, Cole Palmer, prime example, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go. Let's do it. So to clarify, this is a team. You pick absolutely anyone, and it's essentially who you think will be the highest scorers of the season.
Exactly that. I'm just loading the game up, mate.
That's way more difficult, because I know it came up in the chat, and that's way more difficult than than you initially think. Because the first thing is like, right, it's going to be a piece of piss. Choose X, Y, and Z. But as we know, it never usually looks like that. Cole Palmer, absolute example of that.
So who, with unlimited money, who would you lock in? I think you've got to go Haaland and Salah, haven't you?
100%. 100%.
So let's lock them in. Any others?
A City defender.
Yeah.
An Arsenal defender.
If you go Guardiola, Saliba, Trent.
Guardiola. Ben White. Nailed? He's nailed, isn't he?
Yeah, because I don't. I prefer Saliba personally.
Safe bet. Go for him.
So Saliba.
But I don't think he'll finish the season as Arsenal. I don't know.
No, fair enough. Saliba, Trent. Guardiola. Do you want Trent in there as well?
We always think Trent's going to have the biggest he's got the biggest potential there. If Liverpool perform like they did last season, he won't even be in the top 5, will he? But yeah, get him in there for the purpose of the fact that we have. I think we're right, Ben. I think a 4.5 goalkeeper will be the highest performing one, definitely.
The best goalkeepers in fantasy football are the ones that keep an average amount of clean sheets. 9-10 clean sheets a season, and they make 5 or 6 saves every game. That's the best goalkeepers in fantasy football.
Who's that going to be, Tom?
I think it's going to be Man United's Onana.
He's historically been like that, hasn't he?
I think it'd be him. I do. I think Onana could be up there. We'll pick Onana and then we'll go for another one as well. So genuinely, we picked Dean Henderson in the previous draft, right? I think he could be the top scoring goalkeeper in the game, for sure. 100%. He starts every game, he could well be. As well as, to be fair, Ben's mentioned Martinez of Villa as well. If you go for Martinez, I think that's quite a nice pick, actually.
He had a great season a few years ago, didn't he? So the potential's there. So let's go a bit rogue and go Martinez.
Right. Onana, Martinez.
Going a little bit away from... Villa are shaping up really well. They've got a great manager. They've made really intelligent signings fitting in with team structure and stuff. I think that's a good shout.
I tell you what, I'm going to go to the forwards because I think the 3 forwards pick themselves.
Isaac.
You got to go Isak and you got to go Watkins, I think. You have to go for those 3. To start off with, I think you have to go with those 3. What do you think?
Yeah, that based off, yeah.
Where
did Isak come last season?
In terms of total points?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can't check him Fanteam on the game itself.
You remember roughly? I can't.
I think he would have been mugged off a little bit because he didn't play all the games.
Injury.
And you get quite a lot of points simply by just playing games. But I would imagine he was in the top 5 for sure.
And that's why Watkins is a shoo-in, because he'll play most games, he'll play all games and a lot of the 90 minutes as well.
The real challenge, I think, is picking the rest of these midfielders.
Salah.
Got Salah, and that's it
Palmer.
so far. Palmer, yeah, fair enough.
100%. Penos, their talisman. Yeah. Really good player. Like, he surprised me positively, that the consistency that he showed. And in those tighter games where he was like that man to change it. I mean, and his goal in the Euros, I know it's a different game, but he's got that touch of quality. I think Son.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, over the course of the season, he's proved that. And again, if you can keep him injury free, play every game, 90-minute man, Penos, what's not to love? How many's that?
So
4?
We've got 2 more midfielders. We've got Salah, Palmer, Son in there at the moment. Saka, yeah. And then I would say, in my mind, it's then between Phil Foden and Bruno Fernandes. Those would be my next 2. You got FPL Caesar in the chat now as well. You got name dropped earlier, by the way, Caesar.
Positively, from me.
Very positively.
We're talking about the Arsenal back 6, basically, or what it could be, and what you were saying to me about Gabriel potentially not been nailed. So that was useful information for probably a lot of people, because it meant that I took him out my initial draft. Bruno or
Bruno or Foden, I think, is the call. Unless you want to go for another midfielder entirely. But I think the best of the rest is Bruno and Foden, myself. And I guess with Foden being a bit of a doubt, you've got to go Bruno, haven't you?
Cheers, John. John's left the stream. Look, this is Foden, I think, massively depends on like pep, doesn't it? And flavour of the month and what Kevin De Bruyne is potentially doing and what his injuries are. Although he did fit them, but I know that Phil was first choice last season, don't get me wrong. But Bruno, again, like Penos, 90-minute man. If Rashford can get scoring goals, then Bruno's output's going to go up. So that's a really tough one. So go with who you think, mate.
I'll give it Bruno. I'll give it Bruno.
Bruno had like 2 seasons or whatever it was, 3 seasons, like the highest point scorer, and he was up with Salah, wouldn't he?
He was. So
he's got that capability.
Yeah, he does. He does. And we got 2 positions left, 2 defenders left with unlimited budget. Don't know what to do with myself, to be honest. Do you have another Arsenal defender in there?
Yeah, I was just about to say, is there a double up there?
You'll get Ben White in? You were bigging up Ben White earlier.
I just think if he's nailed, he's going to be consistently playing. He doesn't get injured all the time. And he did chip in with quite a few assists. He linked up with Saka quite well, didn't he? So, yeah, I like that.
And then one more defender, mate.
I think it's going to be another one from one of those top teams.
It's got to be on it. Just go Van Dijk.
So, again, if Trent does well, Van Dijk will do well.
Yeah. Just thinking, the City defenders, yeah, but they just don't know who's going to play. Rest of the Arsenal defenders, we've already tripled up on Arsenal. I think you've got to go Van Dijk. But then that does lock us out of potentially getting a Darwin Núñez, Gakpo or Jota in.
Well, what else are you seeing there defensively that you'd like for that kind of?
It's dangerous. It's dangerous what I'm about to say, but Pedro Porro.
Oh, yeah, Ben's put Pedro Porro in the chat there, and so's FPLC.
I just noticed that. Yeah.
Let's get Porro. Let's go with the crowd, mate.
Let's go with Porro, and that leaves us a free Liverpool spot for a forward or a mid. So then, the unlimited season game team: Onana and Martinez, 2 goalkeepers. Saliba, Guardiola, Alexander-Arnold, Salah, Palmer, Son, Saka, Haaland, Isak, Watkins. And then Bruno, well, we see who we put on the bench, but we got Bruno, White and Porro on the bench at the moment.
Wow. That's a pretty solid team.
That's an incredible team, isn't it?
Yeah, it is an incredible team.
Who do you think, if you were to put a shout on, so obviously, basically, we picked at the start of the season what we predict to be the best team, and we've got unlimited money. But you were saying you think there will be cheaper players that wean their way in. Got any thoughts on who that might be?
So you're wanting my Cole Palmer of last season?
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about who that will be yet, if I'm honest. I haven't got anyone massive at the top of my head. I think, yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. I don't really know. I think Muniz could do well, so the Fulham striker. But, yeah. Smith Rowe, I think that's a great signing, and I really like the look of him, just because he was so good at Arsenal. But again, who could be that next Cole Palmer? It's just really difficult.
Yeah.
Ben say Munoz, the fullback from Palace. Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall could be. Honestly, I think if Newcastle get things right with team selections and whatnot.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I think he could be really good. Yeah.
But Tom, someone will emerge that we've barely talked about. It always happens, doesn't it?
I'd say Eze would be my shout. I think Eze is going to be my shout.
Yeah, so if he can stay injury-free, then he's going to rack up some serious points. Who do you think will be overall top point scorer for Fanteam? Well, yeah, Fanteam or in fantasy in general next year?
I think it'll be Salah because Haaland is a little bit more injury-prone. Just for sheer minutes played, games played, etc. I imagine Haaland may score more goals, but obviously Salah gets more points for goals. He'll probably get more assists. He'll play more games. So I'm going to go Salah.
Same. That's where I'd go.
That's a quite good question, actually, because of all of those factors that make midfielders such much better assets than any other position in Fanteam. Would you say most weeks that Salah's probably the best captain?
90 minutes, pens,
Yeah.
massive creative game added to his whatever you call it profile over the last few years, and a phenomenally good, consistent goal scorer.
That creative side to his game is really underrated, isn't it? It didn't really get the attention it deserved last season, I don't think.
He never does, mate, because he's not aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
He's not marvellous to watch, but or a Hazard, but his output's better than both of them.
It's just cheeky little flicks and cutbacks, isn't it, that defenders don't expect or can't get to, and that's what leads to the I think those creative little touches he's got are really good.
If he can stay fit, I think he's going to be a real force. Well, he always is a force, isn't
There's
he?
no AFCON in the middle of this season, is there?
Well, I don't know. I don't think there is. No.
I'd hope not. Because that just butchers him every time, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, hugely. Yeah, he never comes back. Very good. You've got quite well. We've got a question here, Tom. What's this new? Well, I think you talked about it. What's this new rule where shots on target, like straight to the keeper, get points now? So Nunes might be good then. And I remember referees were awful at the beginning of the season. Penalties galore.
That is a good thing. That is a good thought about just penalties in general. Because VAR is still a farce in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah. And so again, it goes back to your point on midfielders like Cole Palmer. Are we just overlooking Son, Palmer, Saka? Basically, the midfield we've got Salah. Eze, if he was just more robust, would be locking. Well, he's going to be a lock because of his price, but he would be probably putting up fairly close numbers as well. Those penalty taking midfielders that play 90 minutes are just
they're the ones, aren't they? They're the winners. And for me, like it's something I do in all my fantasy teams, but genuinely, that's why I was asking that question, Ben. We'll get to that in a second. But in most fantasy teams, my midfielders and forwards, I'd say I pick a maximum one or two that don't take penalties.
I think going to Ben's point, like Liverpool needed a new. I think Klopp moving on was the right time. And I think he was starting to get, I said found out, is that the right word? But I think he was falling slightly behind on the tactical side of things. I think he rallied the players really well because it's Jurgen Klopp. He's got a fantastic...
He gets them up for the real big games as well, doesn't he? Yeah.
But we actually tactically and kind of structurally just looked shocking for large parts of last season. And I think that this is actually related to Ben's point. And it's like, if we look much more fluid and Salah stays fit and firing, Salah will probably be my more regular captain. And Ben's right. Like Haaland, if you're not captaining in most weeks, you're not going to get those double points. But there's a flip side to say, well, he's still going to be consistently scoring anyway. And it's a good debate, and I'm glad they've made us have that problem, Tom, with the pricing on Salah and Haaland. Haaland had many periods last season where there wasn't a lot of goals, right?
Yeah.
Because of the same reason at the moment, because of that sort of those niggles.
I think just going back to your point about Liverpool as well, I feel that the best Liverpool team was the one that had Wijnaldum in the midfield. Who was Wijnaldum's midfield partner? It was Wijnaldum, Fabinho, and then
Fabinho and Henderson.
That midfield.
Well, it was a workhorse midfield. It was. Though, so
and that's
because of Trent and Robbo that are on the backs.
Exactly that. And I think when they lost, well, they didn't lose Henderson, but he just lost his legs a little bit. And they lost Wijnaldum. I think that killed Klopp's style of football.
We never replaced Wijnaldum. I know we're on. We never replaced that press-resistant, clever cover player then when Robbo was going down, and obviously Trent, it was a really good system and structure. But I think slot ball's going to be slightly different, and we don't know what slot ball's going to bring. I don't know. He's even said it in pre-season. At the moment, he's not playing the team, the structure that he's going to play in the main season because he's got no Nunes or Gakpo there. So, but Salah's freaking solid, mate. And yes, Haaland's blanks do hurt when they're not there, especially when you captain him as well.
Yeah, I've been there.
Oh, I was there multiple times last season. Haaland needs to be fit, mate. Haaland needs to be like going off this point, Haaland needs to be going to. We need to be confident and comfortable that Haaland is firing physically going into that season, because he can be. It doesn't take much for Haaland to be nullified in the game, does it? Not from a defender's perspective, but if he's not quite right and he's not involved in link play overly, so it's like when he's fit and firing, he's explosive as hell. But I don't want to be carrying someone who's carrying knocks for that amount of money.
No, I completely agree. I was going to say something, but I lost my train of thought now. Yeah, it's gone. It's gone.
We had a shout out for Alexis McAllister, and I think that's a good outside shout. Very good at Brighton for that season, wasn't he? But he was on penalties. Yeah.
Of course, I guess if Salah does get injured, I think he becomes an option because he'll be the Liverpool pen taker. But other than that,
McAllister, yeah. I don't. My immediate thinking is, I think, did Salah miss a pen last season, and then Salah took the next one? It was against you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was against you at Trafford when we had 2-1 down, and Salah scored the pen, and he'd missed his previous 1 or 2. So I think that pretty much solidifies Salah's still the main penalty taker for Liverpool. Would that affect you, Tom, if Salah was not? What would you do if Salah was taking off pens at Liverpool?
I'd probably make Haaland my captain more often, but I'd still have Salah in my team.
Interesting. Yeah.
You got any more points you want to talk about? Anything else to mention at all? I'm conscious we've been live for like an hour and 15 minutes now, so I don't want to tire you out too much, basically, was my thinking.
No, I think where we're at, that's still the information we've got, isn't it, at the moment?
And I think you made some really good points on this stream, and it's very fair enough. I know I've been absolutely smashing out the FPL content and stuff, but ultimately, the average Joe can create a team 3 days before the season begins with all the information you have at the time, and all the effort chopping and changing your team between now and then is null and void, right? Because you'll have so much more information at that time.
Do it 3 hours, 3 hours before kickoff, honestly, because you just got all that info, and if you've done a bit of research through pre-season on how well players have been playing and stuff and where they've been playing in formations, it doesn't take much to keep an eye on, especially if you're active on socials. It's all there, isn't it? We all see the friendly information. You can get your team nailed. It's a bit of analysis, over analysis, and that's why really I haven't built until today any drafts, because I just started doing my own heading, and I know that the morning of the league kickoff, I've got a template in mind by that point anyway, because all that information's come together.
Yeah, I remember previous seasons where I didn't have the YouTube channel, which is obviously extra reason to be tinkering my team and changing it. I made so many different iterations of my FPL team that I actually dreaded. I just wanted the deadline to get done and out of the way. I wasn't excited for it anymore. And I think that also is a point. Over tinkering with your team not only might overthinking things might ruin your game, and also it just ruins the fun of it as well. You can overanalyze and just kill yourself with it, I think.
Yeah, and I think there's this sort of you're hanging on to a team that you've built over 3 or 4 weeks, when in reality it doesn't work right there and then because of information. And you've got this kind of I've had that bias to a team that I've had built for a while, when in reality I'm like, that doesn't work anymore, that doesn't fit. And another reason why I'm leaving it, it's kind of my new sort of thing where I'm just keeping an eye and building out a template in my head as we've done today, and then just go from there, basically.
I also remembered I said I'd call my mum at 8:20, so I'm going to go and do that now, if that's all right.
That's a call to action right there,
That's a call to action. I got a missed call from my mum that I need to speak to her.
You got 4 minutes, Tom.
Anything else you wanted to go through at all?
No, I think you'll be in trouble if you don't get that call in 4 minutes. So it's been a great stream, and thanks everyone for interacting on that. It's been awesome. It's been great fun.
Pleasure having you on, mate. And yeah, hopefully we get to do this again. One thing I will say is I can't commit to a weekly one, but I will definitely be making an effort to do more regular Fanteam content this season. And I'm already in conversations with Fanteam themselves to give me a bit of help with some data, stats and graphics, etc. for the content. So hopefully that will improve things for you guys as well. But yeah, no promises to do a weekly stream, but I think they'll be more regular.
I'll be definitely keen to jump back on with a few, and I'm sure Ben will as well. So it's really good. There's no Fanteam content like there is for every other platform, or FPL particularly. So yeah, we need to sort of keep on it and gets everyone in a good kind of room together to chat, doesn't it? With the live chat there as well, which I think is awesome.
Cool. We'll leave it there. Like I said, thank you very much for joining, Sam. Thank you everyone for joining in the chat. If you're watching back and in the chat, please leave a like rating if you enjoyed. And yeah, we'll see you later. Take care, everyone.